and welcome to your Round 8 Saturday of the OPL. My name is Michael Hingersing, and I'm joined here by coach of the Chiefs Esports Club, Joshua Jish, Car Hummerston, and also former mid laner of Legacy Esports. It is Aaron Choo Choo's Bland.
Yeah.
How are you both doing this week? I have some great announcements to make, which is, first of all, this week on Twitter, Jish offered to teach me how to play Callista, so I'm very happy about that. And I'm going to say it on broadcast so you can't back out now.
Ah, that was like one of those things you're like, yeah, of course I'll do that, and then you're never going to claim the debt. So I was going to say my leak was really good until you brought that up. Now I have some slave labor.
A lot of work to go. Choo Choo's, how you been this week? You had a good week?
Really good. I cast the OCS yesterday.
Oh, yeah, I watched that. You did very well.
Thank you.
You got to actually cast the game. You were off the desk. How did it feel to be commentating on the games and not on the desk?
It was a unique experience. It was a lot more full on, but it was good fun.
And shout out to Mendrix and Hysterics who were helping you through that. Were they nice to work with?
Yeah, they helped me out a lot.
All right, let's take a look at the standings for this week as we get into this round 8. Direwolves on top of the table after Legacy stumbled last week, losing two games, I should say, to Avant. Chiefs, they're in third place with out the head-to-head over Legacy. Sin and AV rounding up the top 5, and then the drop zone is Abyss, Team Regicide, and TM still looking for that first win of the split in terms of a series. And that brings us to our schedule for this weekend. Some massive games as TM look to see if they can take another game and maybe a series off Legacy. AV versus Sin. That is the grudge match to end all grudge matches. I'm looking forward to that later this afternoon. Chiefs will take on Regicide tomorrow, and then Direwolves versus Abyss. We're getting towards the business end of the split, gentlemen, but this first game today, TM versus Legacy. Last time these guys met, Jish, TM were able to take a game off Legacy.
Yeah, last time it was in the era of when we were saying, TM are looking like this promising young team. They had a lot of, hope behind them. And they took that one game, I guess, off the back of Only, probably. And they, they were going from strength to strength. And I think, this time it's probably not going to be the same story. We haven't seen the same sort of promise coming out of that squad, I don't think, in the last couple of weeks.
You're definitely right. Only's one of those players that we praised a lot at the start of this split. He did have a very strong Nidalee game that did secure them that one win they had over Legacy in week 3. But you can kind of see that he's kind of struggled. Team as a whole have really struggled to find that improvement that we said that they were the one team in OPL that were consistently improving. Where did that really go?
Well, speaking of teams that have been recently stumbling, last week Legacy lost to AV, Jish. Why did they lose against AV? These guys were thought to be the best team in the OPL, and they kind of just dropped some games.
Yeah, so I guess first and foremost, credit where credit's due. I think AV did play, above expectation, but I feel like that was definitely a series that, Legacy looking back on, and they're feeling like, they were probably played a bigger hand in it than maybe AV did. I think they had some suspect drafting, a couple of players under the weather, not playing their best, not feeling their best. So, just like the culmination of all these bad factors, I guess, saw AV take a pretty clean series off.
Yeah, I still want to praise AV. They did look very questionable coming into that series, and they did have some very clean games, but when we did look at that game, it was very basic micro and macro mistakes from Legacy. Claire got caught over extending for an extra wave and got punished, and Sybil as well. What a great performance by him.
Yeah, well, as we look then to this matchup, TM taking on Legacy. Last time, like we said, TM were able to carry a game through their jungler Only, and when we look at how Only matches up against Carbon in this matchup, I mean, they played two very different styles of jungle, Jish.
Yeah, I think the stars were sort of aligning for Only at the start of the split. That's when Lee Sin was a big threat. You could play maybe Kha'Zix into certain matchups. You had the Nidalee in his back pocket as well. And, and carry junglers were really prevalent. I think now that we've seen the shift more towards the tank meta and Cinderhulk becoming trumps, it's really hard, I think, for Only to get his foot in the door.
Yeah, you could, on the other side, you could say that this is Carbon's meta. We saw him building Redemption on Lee Sin. Probably one of the only players in the world to really pull that one out. But this is definitely his meta. He loves playing the engaged champions, the Gragas, the Sejuani, and the Maokai if that gets through. But we have seen the Kayn especially coming out from Only. You're trying to see that he wants to solo carry. He wants to farm very hard and pushes and be like that carry threat that team really need.
Yeah, I guess sort of just touching on the engages from Carbon. I think that's probably some of the biggest strength that Legacy have at the moment is that very vocal sort of shot caller. And when Big Timmy Wendell is calling the go button, everyone's falling in behind him. I think that that a lot of their team fighting recently has been off the back of his engages and how he starts the fight and sets it up for his carries.
I mean, Carbon has played a bit of Kayn. All right, he said he's been playing a bit. Do you think it's any good? Do you like Kayn?
I think each week we go on the desk and I get asked this question. And I'm like, no, I think the champion's kind of garbage. But
It's alright.
Carbon does play it. I've seen him play it a few times in solo queue. Obviously, only plays it 2. I don't feel as though it rates highly on where Carbon prioritizes jungler strength and things like that. So I don't expect him to pull it out. But I guess we'll see.
All right, let's take a look at the team lineup for TM as we get into this first match of the day. Their top laner and big fan of the split push is Praedyth. Their jungler, who we spoke about already, is Only. Shock is their mid laner. Their AD carry is Low. And their support player is friend of the show, the Goon, T-Gun. You can see Coach Cyclone there wandering in the background. I believe that's him. Maybe that's the body of a ref. Can't quite tell because I couldn't see the face. These guys, I feel like last week they played a Protect the Kog'Maw comp around Low. Do you think that was successful in not necessarily execution, but in theory?
I actually think in execution it was pretty successful too, compared to some of their other games. I think that they definitely have sort of started following the meta more often than not. We've seen them shy away from the carry top laners that just made almost no sense. And they actually looked pretty good against Sin, with that Protect the Kog'Maw comp. They held on to that second game for probably a lot longer than they should have.
Yeah, I mean, Cyclone even said in an interview that they had a very weak grasp of the previous meta. I think you can safely say with the Kog'Maw being prioritized and the emphasis on their bot lane, you can see that they have a good grasp, but this is about how fast can we kill this front line, and that's what they're going to be doing today.
Well, their opponents across the Rift are Team Legacy, who dropped points against AV last week. Let's see if they can win this week, though. Their top laner is Tally. Their jungler and captain is Carbon. Their mid laner is Claire, who was ill last week. Let's see if he's recovered. Their AD carry is Lost, and Cupcake is their support player. See Coach Soulstrikes there in the back with the headset on, and like we said last week, drafting that Draven and that Lucian mid as well was an interesting. I think you called it a bold call backstage.
Yeah, I did. It was definitely something quite unique. I'd like to think that they've been preparing that for the Gauntlet stage, but they were one game down and thought they should bring it out early, but it really didn't go too well, did it?
It did not.
Sybil had a great gank and nullified that Draven threat in the bot lane, and was pretty clean from then on for AV.
Well, let's get you guys' predictions. Jish, let me start with you. Who's going to win this one? Have Legacy got it in the bag? Is it a 2-0?
Yeah, no surprises really. I think Legacy probably are definitely, Legacy are definitely the stronger team, and they probably should take this one 2-0.
All right.
I agree. Like, Legacy should probably have had a productive VOD review last week, and they should be able to pull the 2-0 here.
All right. Well, those were the predictions going into the AV game last week. Let's take a look at your tips. opltips.com.au. Legacy, huge favourites there. Only 6.78% of people favouring TM, but I will say that's not the lowest TM has been this split. I think we saw them go as low as 4%. So their fan base is growing. So good on them, the Legacy faithfuls. I mean the TM faithful. Let's get into our first game. Hashtag ImOPL if you want to tweet at us or pop off in Twitch chat. We want to know what champions you're playing off meta or in positions that are not standard. Now, the thing is, if you're going to tweet these at us, you've got to tell us why, and you've also got to let us know your vague skill level so we can roast you and or toast you here at the desk in between games. But it is now time for us to get into our first game of the day. Unfortunately, our play-by-play caster, Fish, is sick, so it's Spawn taking over play-by-play duties with Egypt.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm Spawn. This is Egypt, and unfortunately, Fish is sick. So get well soon, buddy. I was sick last week. I can tell you that Claire is probably better because I had the same illness, and it's about 4 days.
Okay,
that's all it really took.
Illnesses have like a specific if you get this strain of the cold, you'll be sick for 4 days, and then that's it.
Well, I think like maybe varies to people by a percentage, but I mean a 24-hour bug is called a 24-hour bug for a reason, I guess. Egypt. Don't know about that one. Getting into game number 1 though, it is going to be Legacy Esports taking on TM Gaming. I want to talk about Legacy a little bit. Their bottom lane is seen as their strongest part of the map, but weren't able to kill Jake or Blinky at all in that series. Do you think this is a game that Lost and Cupcake go back to flexing their muscles?
Potentially. They did, as you said, have a really weak performance against AV yesterday. The desk talked about Legacy across the board were feeling not the best, and they definitely had a really rough week.
Is that an excuse as a pro player?
I don't think so, honestly. I think it's a pretty poor excuse, but I'm giving it to them slightly anyway. Against the likes of Jakey and Blinky in the bottom lane, Lost and Cupcake are considered the better 2v2 players, so they should have been able to win that one, but not getting a single kill across the entire series. Pretty rough.
It certainly is. Let's go through some bans. It's going to be Maokai, Jace, and Rakan taken away from Legacy, whilst the Gragas as well as a Galio and Elise. I think that this is going to be a Thresh first pick. Thresh was banned twice last week by Legacy, and that kind of means that Cupcake doesn't really play the champion agent.
Potentially. Cupcake hasn't been a big Thresh player for most of his career. He started out on the Bard, and then once he made it to competitive, branched out his champion pool. Fairly recently, I think, he did pick up the Thresh, but maybe not as comfortable on it as compared to the likes of Rogue or Jakey, that sort of thing. But they do pick up the Tristana. I did want to note, no AD carries were banned, and it's interesting they go for the Tristana. Xayah still open, Kalista still open. Legacy, yeah, Kog'Maw. But Legacy did give Kalista away to Blinky, one of his best champions in the last series, and then did get punished. Interesting that TM don't take it off the board, potentially thinking that Legacy don't prioritize it too highly. But they do take the Tristana into that, as the Legacy do pick up the Kalista.
Yeah, and this was seen as a little bit of a soft counter back when Kalista was first seen in popularity. You obviously play the lane a little bit more than me. What do you think about Tristana, Kalista? Is it just support dependent? Are you going to give me the cop-out answer?
No, it's very support dependent in that Kalista obviously sets itself up for a lot of kill pressure in the lane phase. Level 6, all in, throw your support in, do a bunch of damage. Tristana scales a lot better into the late game, gets more range, can pull out a lot more damage in a standard front-to-back team fight. Does fare better against tanks, I think. So Tristana wants to survive the early lane phase and then get into the late game team fights.
All right, so Sejuani also gets picked up, so we maybe are expecting a Braum as well coming out because they synergize very well from Legacy in the next round of pick. What are you expecting out of TM now? Are they looking for support? Are they looking for mid lane? What do you think that they will go towards now?
The Karma is still open, and TM traditionally have favored that pick as a flex between T-Gun and Shock, so they do answer the Sejuani with a pretty standard tank in the meta, the Rek'Sai here, but interesting to see if they do pick up a flex Karma hero, they do just show their bottom lane. I don't think they're going to blind pick any of their solos, so it will be a support or a flex here.
I mean, at the same time, Lulu has seen some play in the mid lane.
Yeah.
If Shock's going to flex anything, I mean, he has gone towards supportive champions like Karma. Don't think it's any strong at the moment, but there is, like, you know, that 1% chance.
Yeah, potentially. I don't think it's too strong, and they do answer with the Braum. Not actually too great a matchup in the bottom lane, but Braum will fare better in the teamfight stages. So, But I think Legacy's bot lane, in terms of the 2v2 matchup specifically, Legacy in the OPL, they are the best level 2 bot lane in the league.
Okay.
Cupcake will flash forwards, and they will ignite you on Braum. They will try and get a kill at level 2 with the Kalista passive. The double autos with the support doing a ton of damage will out-damage the Lulu Tristana combo.
Interesting. They were 30 CS down last week against Jake and Blinky. So, you know, level 2 maybe went well for them, but the rest of the game, not too much. Syndra and Lucian are going to be taken away for the teams respectively. Cassinan will follow. Obviously, maybe a priority on something like a Corki pickup here for Claire. He has liked it in the past, and that's generally the bans we see.
Yeah, very potent Corki player. Does favor that champion a lot. Interesting to see the second ban that comes out of TM. It is going to go to the top lane, so a Gnar.
Would you say that's Tully's best champion at the moment? He had a pretty good success against the Chiefs when he played it a couple of weeks ago.
I don't know if it's his best champion. I don't think... Tally isn't really a player that at a certain point in time has like an overall best champion. He's always had...
Graves in 2015 was pretty good for him.
Yeah, okay, they do lock in the Corki. But going back to Tally, they I think Tally has a very deep champion pool, and he kind of always has throughout his career. He's pulled out things like Master Yi top against us in the finals. So, whereas Claire, on the other hand, contrasting to Tally, I think at any given time, Claire has 3 champions that he is very good at, and then he falls off particularly hard. But he does get his best champion, I think, right now in the Corki.
Yeah, I definitely think that Claire is a good Corki player. At the same time, Praedyth gets a tank, but also a split pusher. You know, Titanic Hydra on Shen does provide good side lane pressure. 900 gold Barmy Cinder means that if you lose the lane hard, you do have a bailout item as well to go towards now. So I like that. And by far, this split, Shock's best champion has been Orianna.
Yeah.
And it's still a Protect the AD carry comp coming out, and I know this is something that you're interested in.
Yeah. Last week, TM... in their performance against Sin in the second game, they did have the Kog'Maw protect the low composition there. But honestly, the Des was talking about how they did really well with that Kog'Maw protecting him. But Shock, although not being the crux of the competition, was the only reason they were actually in that game.
Yep.
He stole the Baron with the Orianna Shockwave over the wall from Juves that allowed them to stall from that 1.5 to 2.5, 3 items for the Kog'Maw. So although low was really the shining light in that comp, and it was all the way built around him, Shock does get the Orianna, which was the reason they were in that good position.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that Shock on Orianna has been slept on other champions has looked pretty bad, to be honest. And there was a stage where they were banning it away from him to really force him onto something uncomfortable. Legacy round out their comp with the Kled. Not a great matchup into the Shen, to be honest, but will have late game pressure.
Very good with the Sejuani. Both those champions just steamroll a team fight. They are... That's what they do. They want to get in there. Khalid can proc Sejuani's passive really easily. Kallista's going to be throwing the Braum in over the top. He can do that as well. So Legacy's composition, very easy front to back.
In saying that, I do like Shen versus Braum and Sejuani in a team fight. If he ever ults in, gets there in time, and is able to drop that dodge zone, it will be very interesting to see if Low can get enough damage out.
Yeah, I mean, Sejuani and Braum are both auto-attack passive reliant champions. If you can't proc them, then they're not serving much of a use in that team fight. So very true there. Shen, soft counter, I think, will depend on if Praedyth can get to the fights early enough to drop that. Traditionally has been more of a split push player, and his TPs in counterpart to like Tally across the Rift, considerably slower, I think. Tally is a much better team player, but Praedyth obviously working on that throughout the split. So,
and he certainly has been. I mean, he was known for, you know, his Fiora, a little bit of Jarvan when he was able to pick it up. But in recent weeks, certainly has flipped that off the back of Coach Cyclone, saying they needed to play towards that bottom lane. I think Shen, as far as, you know, protect the bottom lane goes, is kind of more of the easy champion to pick up because you can still teleport back top lane, keep that pressure, and use the ultimate to go bottom side. So it'll be interesting to track how Praedyth does go against Tally, one of the better top laners in the OPL.
Yeah, Shen is the old school, the new school TF, I suppose. Cheats the macro a little bit, where, you can ulti around the map, TP back to lane.
All right, cool. As we get on to Summoner's Rift for Game 1 of TM versus Legacy, let's first check in with Sarianne, who's standing alongside stage with Coach Cyclone.
Thanks, guys. I'm standing here with Cyclone from TM. Firstly, I just wanted to ask you about the reasoning behind picking Tristana as the first pick when other options were open, such as Kalista.
So we really like Tristana for the scaling. You know, she's really, really scary once she gets to 2 or 3 items, and we also know that Legacy put a pretty high priority on it. They've played at most of their AD carry games the last couple of weeks. Yeah, so it's a good takeaway from them.
Last time you went up against Legacy, you managed to take a game off them. So what does the team have to do today to come away with a win?
So Legacy really excel in their team play. They're really good at doing synchronized deploys onto the map, and they are really sensitive to what each other need, but sometimes they don't play as greedy as they could, so we're kind of looking to just get ahead individually and then be far enough ahead that we can close out.
Well, best of luck with the series, Cyclone, and thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
So interesting out of Cyclone there, thinks that a lot of what today is about is getting ahead individually and then being able to come together as a unit. I think that he's got some good matchups here to be able to do that. What are your thoughts?
I mean, Praedyth stylistically kind of embodies that. He's always been the one to pick the Fiora and just split push till the end of the game sort of thing. So it's interesting, I think, given the caliber of player on Legacy's lineup to be trying to play the I'm better than you individually, I'm going to greed for the individual advantages.
Yep.
But obviously recognizing that across the board, Legacy are a much stronger team in terms of team play. So potentially a weakness there, but interesting to see how that one goes. Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, this is a little bit of cheese coming out. All of a sudden, Low will be stunned up. T-Gun is there to help him. Spears will be ripped out. Good flash there, but T-Gun now, potential of being stunned. You can see 2 summoner spells used for only 1, and Low is on about 100 HP, already burnt his potion before getting to lane.
Yeah, and he does have the Doran's Blade, so doesn't even have the fallback of the Doran Shield regen there, but this is a really good read out of Legacy, punishing the super leash on the blue side there. T-Gun and Low look to leash the red buff 4 only, so we will have a faster clear than Carbon on the opposite side of the map, but really nice out of Legacy. They got the early invade, they got the wards in, pre-minion spawn. Saw that one happening whilst we were listening to Cyclone's interview and then cheesed them.
Yeah, exactly right. Maybe something that, you know, Chiefs were big on the super leash against Sin, able to get spooks down into that bottom lane. Legacy obviously not wanting that to happen. Instead, it will be only looking towards Claire's lane. Burrows in, maybe potentially looking for a flash. Does go for it. Big damage out onto Claire. Gets the summoner spell. That is certainly worthwhile.
Yeah, but he does have the teleport there, so we'll blow flash for flash and then just going to look to TP back to lane.
This is always really risky, though, when you TP. Like, does he go to the turret? Does he go to the creep wave? The tunnel is already there.
Oh.
Goes to the creep wave. I mean, if I'm here, I go for the repeat game.
He's looking. He's going to loop around. He's about to get the tunnel cleared. Okay, if he was in time for that tunnel, he could get a repeat gank off there.
And we've seen that a lot, actually. Generally, it happens top lane, although now Praedyth only looking for it one more time.
I have a question.
Yep.
How long is Valkyrie cooldown at level 1? Would that have been up if he died, immediately TP'd back, and then only counter gank?
Don't know about that one, but Low is going to fall down. That is first blood picked up by Lost. All of a sudden, already getting a kill in his first game. Carbon's going to stick around. This is going to be a repeat dive. He picks up aggro, and it will be T-Gun falling as well. Beautifully executed gank.
Absolutely just punishing the bot lane from TM there. Low and T-Gun, level 2. They haven't even had a chance to play League of Legends yet. They've been completely bopped before they get into lane, get dived immediately, as Legacy obviously knew that Only was on the top side of the map. forced the TP out of Claire, but then showed himself with another Prey Seeker Q from the top side, so Carbon uncontested in the bot side jungle.
Yeah, and really nicely done from Carbon and Cupcake to hold turret aggro, allowing Lost to make sure he got the last hit on the kill. Puts him up 23 CS, 2-6, as well as having that extra gold. And you can see that the item advantage now is a full upgraded Zerka Greaves, which at, level 3 is pretty important for Kalista.
4 minute, he already has almost 1,000 gold lead in the individual matchup on the AD carry. 800 gold there, so...
And if your goal of your team comp is to protect Low, is to get him to a late game stage where he can team fight, I mean, what is the pivot now for the team? What are you looking towards? Is it, you know, getting Shen a little bit of ahead so he can transfer pressure? Is it getting only down into that bottom lane and trying to shut Lost down?
I feel like the bottom lane is potentially already too far gone 3-6, so only is still hovering the top side of the map. You were saying the Shen matchup into the Kled is fairly decent, and he does have a small CS lead here, although the wave is going to push into Tally, so he's going to catch up a little bit. But Shen level 6 and Lulu level 6, I think, are potentially the solo laners and the support there.
Yep.
They're going to be looking for these cross-map plays with the Shen there. They're going to get engaged on. Low's running forward.
I mean, that's aggressive out of Low, looking for a proactive trade. At least got to admire the gusto. However, that wave will push back, and Carbon once again is looking for this gank.
He's standing on a ward, though. They do know he's there. Oh, he's standing on his own ward.
Yeah,
rather.
standing on his own ward, but a little bit telegraphed, so he'll go over the wall. Of course, Barmy Cinder pickup for both Only and Carbon at this stage of the game. Just so cost efficient to be able to clear the jungle.
You can tell the TM's bot lane is scared of a repeat gank because they've got that pink ward in between their two turrets already at 5 minutes into the game.
Yeah,
so.
the Aegian ward. You like to gank people between their turrets once they've been killed once?
Yeah, just proxy the wave, pretend to recall, run around the river and get behind them, and then kill them whilst they're walking back to lane. The AD carriers pondering about how many CS creeps they missed.
And we had breakfast together this morning. That's irrelevant. However, we were talking about the fact that when you lose bot control like this, it's hard on your jungle. Because if he ever tries to help you, he gets spotted, which means top lane can play a little bit more aggressive. You know, mid lane can play a little bit more aggressive. That's exactly what happened. Only got spotted on a bottom lane ward there. And you can see that Tally pushes up. Claire now looking a lot safer in that lane.
Yeah, Claire done a great job already this game of hovering to the side of the jungle that Carbon's on. He did get ganked early and did have to blow his flash, but...
Nice by Cupcake there, putting up the door, blocking the cannon creep. Just a little bit of salt in the wounds. They're not even scared about it engaged. So doesn't need that door. Costs them 30 gold. I mean, that's a little bit of a cheeky play.
It's like spamming emotes. It's the little things in lane. When you know you're getting roasted and then the enemy players are hitting you with a cheeky laugh here, or Braum's using his shield to block your AD carry's cannon creeps. It hurts a little bit.
Big teleport ward goes into the Raptor pit.
Yeah.
Not
Doesn't
Raptor,
get
Krog
spotted
pit.
by the pink, though.
Yeah, and that will catch them off guard because they'll think that pink should have vision of that area. Low again, going to be aggressed on, has to jump away.
Yeah.
If that fourth proc had to come out, a little bit more damage, but still gets the Ren because he reapproaches.
And every time the Tristana blows the W, every time Cupcake lands a Q and Low has to jump away, that's a good 20, 30 seconds that they have to completely cede pressure. They are behind, obviously, as we touched on, but they do have the range versus melee matchup, so they still can contest the wave in this matchup. But every time they do blow that cooldown from Low, there's always the threat that Cupcake can just flash auto. If you don't have the ability to jump away, they will apply the Braum passive and they will stun you up, so they have to respect that.
And Kalista just so mobile at this stage, is able to chase you down better than most AD carries. With this, it is going to be a huge CS advantage. I mean, we're looking at it, it's nearly 35-ish at the moment, and he's not going to get much of the wave. So once again, Only has to come down. He gets spotted out on the ward, and the rest of the map becomes so much easier for Legacy.
Yeah, and I mean, Tristana already has such a rough time farming under turret when you can't even... When Braum is the enemy support and he's able to sit under your turret and spell fling, just throw Qs at you, it's a rough position, but yeah, interesting to see. Legacy do have all the tools to make a proactive play here, but they are respecting the Shen ulti. Has lost Greedy stays for an extra cheeky little shove on the turret there.
Yeah, just make sure that, you know, T-Gun isn't in a bush somewhere or something like that, soaking experience. He stays around, gets, you know, about half health on the turret, which means one aggressive play / gank out of Carbon will probably secure that first objective. Meanwhile, on top side, Tally looks for a cheeky trade onto Praetor.
Yeah, absolutely, and not a whole lot of action right now. Carbon's going to give away the blue buff to Corki, so he's going to be able to have the wave clear advantage. He does have the package here, so potentially...
Package, level 6 on Carbon, as well as Tally pushing for an aggressive ward here. This spells big bottom lane play everywhere for Legacy. See whether Praetor and maybe T-Gun can get to level 6 to stop some of that aggression.
Carbon doesn't quite see Only here, and Only does see him with the passive, so they do know he's in the bot side jungle. Only shows on that pink ward, so they are aware of this, but as we just mentioned, Claire has the package, complete safety to just walk in here. They have to concede the entire bot side jungle here.
Ooh, package did run out, however, so not quick enough on the trigger of the play. However, they still do force them off the turret, and they're looking to brute force still.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that recently package hasn't become that big go button. It's kind of, package in the current meta is kind of just, I have lane priority for 30 seconds to a minute, however long it lasts there. So.
Well, laning against him, the movement speed is actually more annoying than the ability to jump on you a lot of the time, especially in an Orianna matchup.
I mean, if he's going to jump on you, he's going to jump into your turret in the mid lane. So not a very wise strategy here, as Legacy do use that priority to pick themselves up an Earthdrake. It's probably going to be uncontested here. Suicide from Only to go over the wall.
Thoughts on, you know, not going for the bottom lane play and going for the safe objective in a Drake instead?
I mean, it's a free objective, so when you're ahead, taking these safe plays that incrementally give you a lead is a fine strategy. They don't want to pull the trigger on a big risky play when there is a Shenalty on the other side.
But talk to me about a free play, because nothing in League of Legends is free. I mean, there's tempo you give up. You just gave up a whole wave, which probably means a free shot for the Tristana to go back, maybe get Zerka Greaves. So, you know, nothing ever really is free in League.
Yeah, and it's not free, but in terms of what they just gave TM in tempo, they use that to reset. So Legacy still have the complete bot side control. Tally's going to base and be able to make a purchase here. So if he TPs to this play that Carbon is posturing in the bot jungle for here, I think they're just going to get this turret. Yeah, TM sacrificing the turret here, recognize that they don't want to lose the turret and die and give away a double kill underneath it. So they're just recognizing, hey, we're going to lose this one. Let's flip top side of the map. Tally just base so we can get priority up there, potentially trade a top outer turret. But I do think they probably left that a little bit late. They did have vision on Legacy doing the dragon, so would have liked to see an earlier recall and use the time that they were hitting the dragon to actually get that reset off and already be in the top lane when the waves crash. But
completely agree, because right now what's happened is the wave has hit turret bottom lane, but not top lane. So all of a sudden, you know, that's going to push back in. Meanwhile, they should be able to get all this farm onto Tally, so they just grab an extra creep wave for themselves. Also, no pressure coming out right now. Low sacked it even further by going back and picking up a kill at 11 minutes into the game.
And T-Gun is also going the Ardent Sensor build. He's not opting in for the Sightstone, so they're completely banking on the Protect the Low this game. They've already fallen significantly far behind in the 80 carry matchup, but the Ardent Sensor Rush will do a little bit in terms of like equalizing the disadvantage between the 80 carries. But right now, Low does absolutely no damage, and T-Gun is the squishiest support in existence, as you said, they didn't even really get a chunk.
Here we go, though. Level 7 on both of them, so they go in on Low. He has to jump away, and Only goes in at the same time. Exhaust burnt. They still commit here, however. Turret diving lost. He'll flash away. Only will get the kill in the end, but he's stunned up under turret and will fall down. It is a 1-for-1 trade, but Tally is still going onto T-Gun, able to get that, but he flashes out. Nice play from T-Gun. Ult does hit, however. Actually, it doesn't, just the slow field. So a 1-for-1 trade. Jungler for 80 carry, and at this stage, they're going to try and re-engage. Carbon now getting stunned up. He will get the completed satchel. He can jump in if he wants, but they will just successfully disengage.
Yeah, and greedy Summoner use had a loss there. Could have just flashed earlier and wouldn't have taken his whole health bar. Potentially would have been able to clean up that flight, but Only, sneaks into the top push, gets a cheeky gank off, but Low unfortunately did have to jump away from that fight as the engage came out from Only, with Praedyth teleporting over the top. So
and you know,
didn't have the immediate damage.
Yeah, a little bit of miscommunication there, I feel, because he wasn't in danger as soon as Only entered that team fight. Claire once again teleporting back to lane. Does have a CS advantage due to that. However, Shock still doing quite all right, and Low once again has to jump away. As soon as Cupcake back into lane with Lost, they can't contest the wave.
Yeah, but in terms of being behind, it is good to trade kills there. They do get a little bit of gold. They want to be reaching their item spikes here, as comes up on your screen. Corki reaches his strongest point in the game here, picks up his Trinity Force, and Shen is answering him in the mid lane, interestingly. Shock.
Carbon again, looking for a gank here.
Shock got a recall off there, so Shen just holding the wave, because Tally is so far pushed onto his side of the map, and Praedyth has no business being that far pushed out of their base.
That's 2 auto attacks that did nothing, and Low now is in big trouble. Stun does not come out. Carbon had flash, didn't want to use it. No ultimate available. Instead, they just zone away from turret. However, Only is here, so if they want to fight, now would be the time. TP is available for Praedyth. He's going to channel that very far behind them. So here we go. They go in with the Lulu ultimate. All of a sudden, Lost is in absolute struggle street. He's been engaged on. He will die at a T-gun. And all of a sudden, they're chasing after Cupcake. Low will jump on his head, but Corki is now here. T-gun with a double kill. Carbon also looking to fall down, although Claire is doing so much damage. But it's still going to be 2 kills for nothing, and TM come out ahead.
That's a huge call out of Pradeep there. TP's behind them. Legacy had no idea where he was until he showed on the creep wave there. Gets a huge taunt. They do pick up a couple of kills for themselves there.
Claire is in trouble. Only is here. T-Gun shields himself. However, there is nothing they can do. He's able to chase him down. Now trying to kite out Only, who does have the tunnel. The knockup will be there. They need to give this over to Low. They do. That is a fantastic play out of Only, understanding that he is a Cinderhulk jungler and Low needs to carry him late game.
Yeah, and we do see a replay of this. We do see the TP on the top side. They don't know Shen is there, so they look for the 3v3, because in this isolated matchup, they do win the fight, but nice taunt. The auto attack dodge field comes out there as they all die. The Glitter Lance from T-Gun here snipes Cupcake as the end of the fight as Corki roams up. But look, he's sitting on about 20% mana when he joins the fight, so bunch of rockets and then a few auto attacks and he's basically done there.
And that's so crucial because we said Trinity Force,
biggest
power spike. However, if you don't have mana to get the repetitive Sheen procs, what are you actually there for? At the same time, however, this is going to be double turrets going over for Legacy Esports, so 3 turrets to 0. That's a big deal.
And I do want to take note here as we bring up the gold values that this scrappy game, the fact that these fights aren't going majorly in Legacy's favor, they are up turrets, but items have been completed on the side of TM. It does favor them in terms of scaling here. The Ardent Sensor has been picked up on the Lulu, so Tristana, once she's hitting her first and second item spikes here, Lulu's already ahead, already has the Ardent Sensor to back that damage up. So if these fights don't net big advantages for Legacy in the mid game and they can't use these advantages right now and potentially in the next 5 to 10 minutes, then I think TM's comp will start coming online, and these scrappy fights by Legacy I think are a mistake.
And similar to what Sin had last week, a big early game advantage, but if you can't capitalize on, meaningful objectives, although Low's being caught out here, Cupcake, Lost, as well as Carbon are all behind him, so he just prioritizes the wave. He does have Flash available, as well as a Buster Shot, and they are looking to maybe fight it instead. You can see multiple members coming across. Carbon now in a little bit of trouble, however, successful disengage as 2 members of Legacy are heading up the river. There is a charge. Tally is into Only, but that's not the right member. Big Shockwave, absolutely whiffs there out of Shock. That will be the jungler falling down for TM Gaming, and they're not done. Bear Trap on a rope comes out. That's going to nail Shock, pull him back, and Cupcake flies into the backline. A double kill picked up for Lost, and Legacy will successfully disengage.
Huge miscommunication out of Only and Shock there as on the Rek'Sai uses the ulti, so he flies off the map for a brief second when Shock pulls the trigger on the Shockwave. So hula hoops on his head instead of doing any damage there, but deep flank coming out of Claire and Tally from the mid lane.
And that would have been big. That was a 4-man Shockwave if it lands. That means maybe Praetor can go aggressive, maybe Only can stay in the fight. Instead, it is not there. It's going to give over another major objective. That's kind of a free turret picked up for Legacy and a 7,000 gold lead.
And I mean, not only that, maybe Low doesn't have to blow all these summoners to live there. He doesn't have to flash away from the Claire that's charging in, because the members on Legacy would be much lower. So that could have been a 1 skirmish for them here, as we do see a replay. Low, he flashes away. As we see the interaction, Hula Hoop the second he ultis, and once that misses, they've got absolutely no hope of winning this fight. Claire has blue buff now, so he has the mana. TM are just fleeing as best they can here. Braum with a Callisto ulti comes over, but Dodge Field doing work there, but he does fall down anyway. Cheeky bit of damage from Low on the backside of that fight, but
at the same time, you can see what TM's comp is supposed to do. It's supposed to have a big engage, the Shockwave is there, and then Low is very hard to kill when he has summoner spells available.
And I mean, it's interesting how these two comps interact with each other. Because you look at Legacy, they have the Kled charge, they have the Kalista throwing the Braum in, they have the Sedge going in, with the 280 carries in the backline just autoing the front line. But TM's composition is actually really good at kiting. If you have the likes of a Lulu and a Tristana who have the ability to peel back over the Orianna ball, with the Shen ulti coming through with a dodge field.
Only being invaded on here. This is the double passive that we like to talk about. Only gets the ultimate out of T-Gun. And ultimate actually, no it wasn't. It was just the passive being popped by Carbon there.
But yeah, as I was saying, if Legacy's engage doesn't go perfectly, then TM do have the tools in their composition to actually win these fights. Kiting over an Ori ball gives a lot of situations for big shockwaves to come out. That would have been a big one there, that slight fumble. So as this game progresses, Tristana has hit her first item now, still sitting on 40 stacks of the Cull, so a while before that pays off, but does have the Infinity Edge, backed up with the attack speed and the lifesteal that Ardent Sensor gives, so the Rift Herald is dropped. Carbon is flanking this inner turret.
See whether they want to get anything more.
Lulu,
they
no
do
ulti.
go aggressive onto Lulu. No ulti, as you said, will fall down to Carbon. But at the same time, Shock is putting in massive damage onto Carbon. Will get out, although Tally now in big trouble. They throw Cupcake in, and it looks like they're just going to fall down. That's Praedyth gone. Only will get away through the tunnels, and no one can follow up. A little bit of miscommunication coming out of Team.
Only was trying to help out his teammate Praedyth there by hitting the plant, but couldn't quite get it there, and instead just tunnels away. As are these scrappy fights with the Rift Herald dropped are just seeming to favor Legacy now. They were trading kills earlier on into the game, but now it seems like they're much more one-sided. TM flanking from all different angles are getting picked off left, right, and center. There's so much catch potential on the side of Legacy. As we saw, the Lulu had to burn her ulti to secure the red buff, which they didn't end up getting. So Carbon punishes that with a flank there.
And, you know, maybe not something that we've complimented Legacy on for in the past, but their turret trades this game has been very good. Yeah. While they're fighting on their side of the lane, and they really haven't given TM Gaming any chance to access those structures, meaning 5 turrets up, you know, about 4,500 gold at this stage of the game, is, you know, a fair chunk of what their lead is.
And given that we're now at 20 minutes, I want to reference something. I've had a long talk with Carbon about Legacy and their Baron buffs.
Yep.
And I think Legacy is quite a poor Baron team.
All right.
I think they don't pull the trigger on Barons. They're very quick to turn off. I don't know whether it's a lack of trust in that Carbon will secure the smite. They do have a Kalista Rend here, so Lost maybe can do it, but he seems to think the complete opposite. But this is the
good
point.
Baron team, are you saying?
Yes, Carbon says that Legacy are a very good Baron team, better than any other OPL team.
Okay.
And I think the opposite. But this is the point of the game that can potentially go wrong for Legacy. When such a big objective like the Baron comes online, and with this lead, they're going to start posturing around that one. They do have a team fight comp, so not much split push. So the bot lane turrets are already fallen. Potentially look for the top inner, but the Baron will be the next major objective. And potentially, against a comp like a Protect the Tristana here, if they do falter around a team fight and give TM Baron, we could see a repeat of the second game versus Sin for TM, and that was a big turning point for them and allowed Low to come online and potentially see a repeat here.
Yeah, it certainly could. At the same time, you know, they don't necessarily have to go towards it. There's still 1 outer turret that they can look to knock down. They can try and confine TM Gaming to their base first. But it's so dangerous to dive, you know, Lulu, Rek'Sai, Shen, as well as Orianna. So we'll see whether they do prioritize the big purple worm. You can see posturing now. Lost walks over a control ward. Don't know what's going on there. Maybe go back and auto-attack it a few times, buddy. There we go.
Cupcake's going for a Zeke's, I think it's Convergence, and now it's called, with the Locket and the Glacial Shroud there. So interesting build. We don't see that rushed too often. Basically never, in my opinion.
So what does it do? Come on, tell the people at home.
Effectively, it's kind of similar to Locket in that they both build out of the Aegis there, but it's more heavy resist towards the armor side than the magic resist. Locket, you want to be shielding against the likes of big wombos like the Orianna ult or things like that, whereas the Ziggs gives the AD carry, Lost, who's very accelerated in this game, more damage, applies a slow field around the Braum.
Yep.
So it will give Braum more armor, but against a team composition, there's the Orianna there. I guess she's the only AP damage on that lineup, and is 0-1-0, so not doing too much now. But it's an interesting choice. I'm not actually sure why he would go for that. I don't really see the upside versus something like the Locket there. Or
or a Knight's Vow. I mean,
well, Carbon, I think, is going towards the Knight's Vow.
Yeah, potentially, but you got 280 carries, right? So Carbon puts his on Claire, Cupcake puts his on Lost. All of a sudden, doesn't matter. You just negate so much of the damage that's going to come out of the Orianna Shockwave that you can just continue to stay in those fights. They are sieging up top side of the turret. Kalista's not normally the best sieging AD carry, but when you give someone a 50 CS and a couple of kill lead, going to be absolutely fine to step up and hit those.
Claire just continually pushing in this mid lane and then looking to pressure. There are a couple of back pings on the side of TM there as they do just start up this Baron.
Yeah, so no pink wards on the Baron. However, they do know that there's been enough time that there is nothing that they can do to see this. They've got so many spears in already, down to 7,000 health. And Tally is going to run into Shen, so we'll see who goes when. Carbon already at half health. They use the Kalista ult. Straight away they turn off. And Cupcake flies in. This will be their team fight. Shockwave only hits Carbon, and Shock is under fire from Tally now. However, they're peeling back very well. T-Gun will flash out of the fight, and Low is able to pick up the first kill. Now Cupcake is in trouble, and Claire might just actually fall down. Dogfield is absolutely massive. Where are you going, Low? You need to be hitting the front line of the team. Praedith goes in, misses the touch, flash taunt, and all of a sudden, Lost is absolutely by himself. Low can clean up this fight here. He's going to get another reset, and he will be able to hop onto Lost's head. That is a triple kill and a shutdown. He flashes forward to try and get Carbon. Just go towards the Baron, boys. That should absolutely be your objective now.
And I absolutely called it here. Legacy, I think, turned off the Baron way too quickly. They pulled the trigger on the Kalista ult. Baron was still on 4 to 5k, and TM hadn't committed there, but this is looking like another repeat of the second game versus Sin. Low picks up the kills on the back end of that fight. This is going to get him to his item spikes here as we see it again.
Yeah, exactly right. So this fight starts off very well for Legacy with a whiff Shockwave, but then it's just all TM.
Shockwave only hitting onto Sejuani there with the passive, so did absolutely no damage. T-Gun gets caught in the front lines, but this choke allows Low to just free hit the entire fight here as he does jump to try and clean up a kill on Corki as he flashes away, and the Shen taunt does miss out of Praedith there. But yeah, at this point, once this team fight is so broken up and TM are just deathballing, shielding up the Tristana here. As you see, this is what the comp wants to do. Get one reset, just keep jumping forward with the speed, the Whimsy and the shields from Ori and Lulu. Tristana can just bounce around, start cleaning up these kills, and that's a big swing in the favor of TM, but they are still a hefty gold lead down.
Yeah, they certainly are. They didn't get any major objectives off that fight. And it looks like Legacy going to go back towards the Dragon, back towards pushing out lanes. So a hard reset. But you have to start questioning, when can Legacy cleanly execute on that objective? Because as we said, 4,000 health, Kalista's been free hitting since the start of that. That should be a free Baron unless someone gets in the pit.
Carbon can just tank the engage from TM. They basically don't have any engage, right? Low's just going to walk up and start hitting Carbon. If he just postures forward, the Rend will come out and complete that Baron, and there's effectively no chance for a steal, or there should be no chance against the Rend and Smite combo. Only doesn't quite get the Crab looking for the Smite. But I think this is the most important part of the game for Legacy right now. They've messed this Baron up once, right? And that was kind of the stabilizing factor for TM. Low's hit his 2-item spikes. T-Gun's looking for another healing and shielding item there, so he's only going to make the Tristana scale better and better. So if they fumble this Baron one more time, I do think TM will have the lead. They probably won't have a gold lead, but if they fumble this fight, that'll be Baron. That'll be the winning Baron play. The first one stabilizes for TM, but the second one will win.
All right, we'll see whether that does come true. You can see Praedith still has teleport and ulti available, was able to shove in bottom, but still can't take it. They think that they've caught out only, though he is a very slippery Rek'Sai this game, so we'll get away. And you can see that whilst they're taking the blue buff, there were a couple of wards left behind, so Legacy have to wait the full 3 minutes before they can re-approach this Baron take. If they do it too early, it will give TM knowledge, so they sweep that one out.
And something that isn't really tangible from the viewer's perspective is player confidence.
Yep.
If you set up for a play and then you mess it up and then immediately your best play is to repeat that one, there's always that inkling in the back of your mind like, okay, last time, like, what did we do wrong? Okay, we need to fix that. We can't do that again. But there's always that inkling that you've already messed it up. You're not as confident going into the call the second time. So potentially playing on the minds of Legacy here as Carbon's going to hit the Scryer.
But you're looking at it, they've done everything right. They've pushed out middle lane, they've set up their wards, they start it one more time. Praedith is in the bottom lane, only is here. Teleport and Shen ulti are available. It is going to go, and they don't decide to fight this time around. So Legacy finally commit to the objective, and they pick it up.
Yeah, they get it low enough, but they do actually commit to picking it up there. TM weren't in a position to contest. Obviously, Legacy did all the right things, as you said, pushed in the waves, denied all the vision on the top side of the map. That Scryer did see their last remaining ward for TM in the river, so they cleared that one up, and then the Baron pit was completely dark for them, didn't quite get there.
And big pickups off the back end of that. Gargoyle Stone Plate, Infinity Edge, third item picked up for Lost. So you can see that they're pretty much an item ahead in every position right now. Corki has the most expensive item build in the game. Is 2,000, 3,000 gold up even, and still ahead in item slots. That's always good when you're a Corki.
Yeah. And the big point is also that the tanks are ahead for Legacy, because that's how these two team fights, that's how these two team comps interact in a fight, is both teams just going to be hitting the front line, and whichever front line dies first is going to lose the fight, basically. Kalista's just going to be looking to build up the Ren stacks, and then pop one of them. Very hard to do against a beefy front line, very hard to do against a Shen. But Tristana, once she gets that one reset, can look to steamroll a team fight. So Legacy are going to look to take the last remaining inner turret on the map.
You have to think that right now TM is just waiting for level 16 to be accomplished on Praedyth as well as Shock. Once they have that big shield coming out of the Shen, as well as the rank 3 Shockwave, should be a little bit easier. At the same time, you can see Claire adding pressure to this split push and Praedyth going down incredibly low. I mean, that's not a good sign when your tank is taking that much damage.
TM happy feeding around their base a little bit there. Didn't call to just give up this top lane inner early enough, as they were kind of posturing around the middle lane, undecided at which one they were going to protect.
But this is a difficulty when you don't have that heavy engaged composition. They're better at going backwards, so as long as Legacy are content at hitting turrets, there's no real way, unless they flash Unburrow on someone, that TM can get into a team fight.
And Legacy have learned their lesson. At the Baron, they tried to full 5v5 team comp, and they didn't team fight, and they didn't win the fight. They didn't get the engage off with Tally. They couldn't get onto low, and then he cleaned up. So now they just put in the Kalista Braum in the top lane, Sedge and Corki floating between mid and bot, and Tally just sitting on the bot lane. Soon probably just going to ignore Praedyth to take that turret, but they understand the team composition out of...
Here we go, he's going to flash on him. Unburrow does hit Claire. He has to flash away, but has the damage been done? Claire has been blown up. Next will be Tally, but the rest of the team is collapsing. You can see that Lost is not there yet, so Low just keeps going forward. He's chasing down Tally. Is that the right call? Because I think maybe they're overextending a little bit. Now Lost is going to get onto
nice
Low.
fight.
Great flash, but the charge is coming in. Re-engage is available for Legacy, but they don't want this fight. Praedyth flies in. He's got the dodge field down. Where is the Orianna Shockwave? There it is. Only hits one, and I don't even think it got him because Tally was dismounted, and now Cupcake is in the back line. That's a double kill picked up for Lost, and Carbon is still charging forward. Looks like that'll be the end of the action, although Shock, with no matter, will have to go back to base.
No, I don't think they can push this one. Low should have the tools with the double shield. I guess Shock is out of mana. Do blow the Buster Shot to keep them away. They do give up the in-hit. Interesting there. Legacy reacted to the pick. Claire went down very early, and they actually opted into the 4v5 fight there.
And I think that if Shock gets a better Shockwave, I hate to call out an individual player in these team fights, but I think that that is a one-team fight for TM Gaming.
Yeah, if the ball was just one Teemo more into the backlines of Legacy there, would have hit potentially up to 3 people, but it does clip Tally
I don't
when
think
he was
dismounting.
Yeah. So it doesn't, in fact, do any damage there. But yeah, interesting that Legacy actually reacted to that fight. Claire was picked, already fell down. They could have just taken a mid turret, I think, but did run down there. And I think the only reason they actually got that, as you said, was the Shockwave missing. Low out of position, had to burn his flash.
Interesting build coming out of Lost that I want to point out for you and get your thoughts on it. He's gone to Death Stance. No shred in his build at all. Last week, we saw Blinky go for a third item, LDR, Lord Dominic's Regard, whatever it's called. I should be better at this as a play-by-play caster, but I'm normally color agent, so bear with me.
Unlucky.
What do you think about the Death Stance? I mean, he seems like he's only hitting only in Praedyth, who have already picked up big tank items.
We've been talking about how if the Shockwave hits, then that is the big go button for TM.
Yep.
So potentially just going for the extra safety net. Does have the Maw already, so it has that magic damage shield, and then has the double lifesteal on top of that. So wants to just bounce around a team fight and get a bunch of Ren stacks in before actually committing. Not looking to shred down the tanks very quickly. They do have a really big front line. The Braum, the Sedge, and the Gled.
Claire almost caught again. Has to Valk away without flash. That is a very risky play for Claire to go for. And 2 members were mid in Tally and Cupcake. They're the 2 tanks. I think they need to be at least grouped up with their support, and we'll see they go for the play one more time. Carbon walking into the base, and we'll see if only goes onto Claire. Shockwave whiffs, actually hits the 2 tanks. Now all of a sudden he's stunned up. He's going to fall down so incredibly quickly, and Shock will be next. Gets the ulti out, however, will fall down. Tally's already onto the back line. He is absolutely ripping them apart. Gets dismounted, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. Flashes on top of Low, who will get stunned. Praedyth is going to be next. Tally is already onto T-Gun. He's looking for a little bit of a fountain dive, and this should be game. It looks like Legacy will be able to pick up the base turrets, and it was not pretty. It wasn't all that well executed, but Legacy finally put it together. It's going to be a 32-minute victory.
Yeah, definitely. 17k gold lead at the end of that game as they're looking to pad their KDA here a little bit. Cheeky fountain dive. Claire doesn't have the flash, but yeah, that last fight, there were just no flashes on the Orianna, on the Tristana. Carbon on your screen right now. Big tank in the Sejuani that had his flash available, so just walks up underneath the turret, allows Lost to hit that one, and only just steps slightly too far forward. They pull the trigger on the engage, and yeah, Ori no flash, Triss no flash. The Lulu ulti was burned onto the Rek'Sai, so they didn't even keep him alive, and then they just used all their cooldowns, and the gold lead just came through there.
And whilst you have to think, Baron number 2, 32-minute teamfight victory, really, this game was won from that level 1 play that forced the AD carry out of lane immediately. It led to a double kill. It led to a 50 CS deficit at only 10 minutes into the game. If Shock hadn't super leashed, if he had been equal in power to Lost in that game, I feel we have a completely different ball game.
Yeah, definitely. They Legacy, very good read coming into even prior to the game. They knew the TM were going to have this sort of setup on the blue side, look for the super leash. They got the wards in early, punished the super leash. And yeah, Lost just used that advantage and just snowballed around the map. They picked up a few early skirmishes that went a bit iffy. They were still slightly winning, but they weren't the big skirmishes that you should be winning with that fight. And the Kalista Braum, very good skirmish champions early into the game. They should be cleaning those fights up. So traded back and forth, but eventually used that gold lead, picked up the objectives, and then pulled out the win. So
off the back of their superstar bottom lane, Legacy were able to pick up game number 1. However, to break down that game further, let's throw it back to Hingers and the boys at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Spawn, and congratulations to EGM for a good cast, I feel.
Great cast.
Doing good.
They did good.
Fish is ill, and they're stepping in. Congratulations to them for that. And also congratulations to Legacy taking out this game. But Choo-Choos, I know upstairs when we were talking about, let's look at this in the context of the wider OPL split. You were saying, look, Legacy making a lot of the same mistakes they made last week against AV, despite the win. Yeah,
I mean, you could see, I think 93% of people thought this would be a clean 2-0. That was definitely not a clean game. I think they lost, out of the amount of team fights that were in that game, I think they lost the majority, but they did win the game. Yeah. And it really did come back to, as Spawn highlighted, that early gank that Carbon did in the bot lane. But they made a lot of errors that you saw in the AV series. But this is the great reactive play that I was talking about. We saw Rek'Sai was in the mid lane, and Carbon immediately runs down as he knows that his bot lane has lane priority. Great turret juggling here from the Legacy lineup as Carbon, as you can see, gets out. And that was a clean 2-0, and that eventually snowballed that bot lane and build them that 50 CS lead. And that was really the winning condition that snowballed, and they won them the game.
Yeah, it's sort of, Spawn mentioned on cast that Tristana's pretty decent, into Kalista. And you'd even expect that, the range matchup in Lulu into Braum would be like, favoring TM's lineup. But when you get dived at like 3 minutes and hand over a double kill to probably the best AD carry, in Oceania,
Ooh,
it makes
you think that?
Well, I think he definitely he has a good claim to
I
it.
hope Quinny's not watching.
I still love you, Quinny, I promise. No, I think that even if he's not the best, he's a very good player, right? And you just can't hand him a double kill a kill and an assist at 4 minutes if you want any chance, to win that lane and to be, semi-relevant as an AD carry player.
So can you dive a little bit deeper on that? Because TM have first picked Tristana into Kalista, right? Now, Cyclone talked in the interview about some of the advantages he thinks Tristana has, but how should that lane play out then if you don't die, level 2 or whatever it was?
So I think that there is always going to be the kill pressure and I think gank pressure for the side of Legacy. Braum can just flash auto queue them, and then that's half of the stun proc ready, and then Kalista has good chase, and the CC coming out of them is really potent. Right. But I think if you can somehow keep your lane safe, you have good defensive vision, don't get ganked, and just get to farm wave after wave. Tristana, scales really well, and if she can, just wait till Lulu gets an item, she gets her BF sword and maybe Static Shiv or something. Yeah. She starts doing more damage. As the game keeps going.
Yeah, picking Braum it really means that you really need to push an early advantage, because the Ardent Sensor and the comeback of these supports like Janna and Lulu, where they have such a strong scaling itemization path, is something which I think Legacy were aware of. So they typically the Braum, and they made that early dive happen, which did snowball, and Kalista Braum is such an oppressive duo, and you could see that they utilized that duo very nicely and pushed their lead.
Well, for Legacy playing into TM's comp specifically then, Jish, I mean, when you look at the team fights or their ganks and whatever, what were they trying to do against this TM lineup?
Yeah, so we see, this is just, I think this is actually really, really good out of Carbon, because obviously playing to protect the AD carry comp, your big tools are going to be things like the Lulu ult, and they instantly stun her and lock her up and dive onto her. She dies, gets her flash out, but gets to do literally nothing for the Tristana in this fight, and they've summoned the Rift Herald already, so that this turret is just like a it's gone. Yeah. And the fight continues here, and it's really hard, I think, for TM to really get a proper look into this fight, because both of their supportive champions, the Shen ultimate, the Lulu Wild Growth, whatever it's called, both of them are taken out.
Big time.
Yeah, Tristana loses 600 health for what should be a good fight, because she gets none of that utility. Yeah. And I think that's a very, very intelligent way to play that composition, to play Legacy's composition into TDM's composition.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually aware of that, but by locking down the Lulu, you, in a sense, lock down the Tristana because the Ardent Sensor, so much of the Lulu facilitates that 80 carry composition that team have been running for the past couple weeks now. So it was a nice dive by them to secure.
All right, well, let's talk about this this draft that we went through today. I want to get your thoughts on these target bans Legacy came out with. Their first 3 bans are Elise, Galio, Gragas. That means they're obviously wanting to ban out, I guess, top lane, right? They're taking 2 bans was, I guess, well, they're playing flexes, really, aren't they? Elise's jungle ban.
Team been playing Galio a lot in the mid lane.
Yeah.
I believe they had, even though they lost the games, that was probably their closest series when they did get that one on to Shock. But yeah, it does seem to be only is a great Elise play and a Gragas, and the Gragas has been his probably most played champion.
Yeah, I think limiting the ambiguity that can come out of the TM draft, just removing those flexes, because they have shown that they'll put, they prioritize Gragas quite highly, and they'll put that top or jungle. And it's one of the stronger jungle champions at the moment when there were a couple other jungle bands like the Maokai. The Elise is off the table as well. So limiting his power, as we sort of mentioned, he's probably their big threat at the moment. And then just, removing those other things like flexes that can just confuse you or throw you off.
Meanwhile, the 4th ban coming out of TM was Lucian. And obviously, Legacy had already picked their AD carry. So they're presumably banning that out of Claire after they saw him play it last week. Now, Jesh, I mean, you watched that Legacy game last week where they played Lucian mid. Did you think it was much of a threat?
I think individually, Claire's Lucian is really good.
Right.
I think it made no sense in their composition. Right?
Sure.
I think that there was not necessarily an issue with Claire's Lucian per se, rather what they picked around it. And I think that it depends on what they wanted. Obviously, it's a lane bully and it can get a lot of pressure in the lane. So maybe just removing that. It's good into Corki, so maybe they were looking to pick Corki themselves. Yeah, I think that they were, just removing something that Claire is quite comfortable
I
on.
think they've kind of taken a note out of the AV book, out of their series last week, versing Triples Corki and how he did run teleport. He did manage to take the mid tower organically and had about, he was keeping up, he was about 10 CS on the clock. Had a very good game. It was really very good game out of Claire.
PvE performance, really. He was fighting minions and he was fighting structures, and that's about it.
That's a way to win the game, right? Just farm.
It worked really well.
You don't need kills to win the game. You can just need towers. So,
well, we've seen as well last split. There was a lot of games where people were down in kills but still winning games as well, right? So you can you can still lose games when you're taking a lot of kills.
Yeah, I mean LCK for a period of time there was less than 10 kills a game, and yeah,
let me tell you, in Scrub tier where I'm playing, 45 kills minimum per team. We're talking 90 kill games.
Yeah, but that's why you tune into OS, because you have that gameplay. You have that. That's what everyone wants to see.
Something else interesting out of this draft that I want to talk about is the Kled. Is the Kled pick coming back as a big thing now? Because I feel like when Kled was released, everyone's like, this champion's crazy. I don't want to touch it. It's weird. It's full on. And that was just a weird thing they did in China for a while. It was just this LPL pick. Everyone loved Kled in China. And now I feel like the last couple of weeks in OPL, Kled's been a bit of a comeback. Do you like it, Jish?
Well, I mean, yeah, Swiper really likes it, so obviously by default I have to like it. So I think right now Kled is good for a couple of reasons. I think he has good matchups into a lot of the tanks and bruisers at the moment. That's sort of his style. Winning. I think some of the range champions can hold him down. Don't quote me on that one. But I think, right now he has pretty decent matchups around the board. And I think the other thing that benefits him a lot right now is that everyone's playing super heavy team fight compositions, and whoever engages or has the bigger engage and gets to start the fight, often gets the upper hand. And that's like one of Kled's biggest strengths right now is that, that ultimate coming from the side and flanking or something is just a really powerful tool.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of movement speed, I think there was one team fight we really saw that. I think Legacy lost that team fight, but you could see how fast it rotated Claire and Corki into the team fight with them. So I'd like to see that a bit more of that champion.
The kind of last thing I want to talk about as we come out of this is a mentality question, right? So I know backstage when we were watching these games, we were talking about the difference in these AD carries. And in particular, there was that one team fight that TM took near Baron, right? So all credit to them, they won the team fight. But I think the cast was saying as well, Low, just very scared.
He's a coward. He was playing like a coward.
We don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to. Well, one, they did win the team fight.
Yeah, so you can't roast it too hard.
Yeah. But there was a lot of opportunity that he wasn't aware of, and he ends up burning his flash at the very end when he's chasing down, I believe, Tally or the Braum, and but
Carbon. I think
he's chasing down Carbon. But you can just see that they put a lot of resources into the bot TM lane, and he's not seeing these opportunities, and that's very crucial when it comes to this type of meta.
If you're making your coach pick your composition, they're literally playing around you, and then you're getting into these team fights where you start winning. Like, I want to see you playing it properly. Like, dive forward. Like, that should have been a really clean, like, wipe from them in the team fight, and they should have taken Baron from that.
But is it like he's like, all right, I'm going to play this, right? You've picked me with Tristana. We're going to play around me. Let's do this, right? And then he gets ganked and killed. He's like down 50 CS. Like, I'd play scared as well, right? No?
I guess that's why you're on the desk and not in the game.
Wow, brutal. But
I know from personal experience that he must be nervous. I mean, you're versing a top 3 team, and this composition is centered around you not really
dying.
Pressure.
A lot of pressure.
There is a lot of pressure, and this is low. It's his first real split, so I think the nerves may be getting to him.
You're saying get in there. Is that your message as well, Chishu? Get in there.
Yeah, I mean.
You were saying a lot more upstairs.
Suddenly the camera's on and someone's a little bit shy.
Oh, I don't know, like... Yeah, he just needs to get in there. He just needs to flash forward. I was casting OCS yesterday, and those guys know what's up. Those guys know how to play League of Legends.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Just in terms of flashing forward?
I was going to say they would probably flash forward. No, I think, like, obviously, we're being a bit critical of him, but I think he will probably be pretty critical of himself when he goes back and looks at that. And, you hope that's one of the things that if they're going to go back revisiting this composition, he should have more confidence in himself, but also his team, to back him up in those situations.
Yeah.
As you can see from the graphs, he did a lot of damage for his team, and he was, like, their focal point. And a couple cleaner fights from him, maybe a slightly better early game in the lane phase. Like, that's his game to control.
I will say that's my general problem when playing AD carry is just walking forward. Just I don't care about the rest of my team.
I'll tell you,
I'm going in.
I'll tell you, I play a lot of League of Legends in my life, and nothing irritates me more than when people won't flash forward to.
Yeah, you bring it up every
secure a kill.
Literally
Someone
every
who's on a
week.
blinking red bar, and that team fight was probably the best. I don't know if we can get a replay of that team fight, but like
just tilting you.
We delay the next game just to critically break down this team fight for another 25 minutes.
I will like flash into a team fight and kill everybody or die. Like, I don't care anymore.
Yes,
I'm all for it.
It is a lot easier to teach a player to play back than for a player to play aggressive. So when you're recruiting people, you want to recruit someone who's crazy. You want to be like, so you see this solo queue player just tower dive, insane mechanical ability. You don't want someone who farms 200 CS every game and then scales onto the late game.
Yeah.
Like
you want someone.
Yeah, you want someone who's like willing to make those proactive plays, and that.
Are you thinking about starting a team next year?
Yeah, inside the mind of Coach Choose here.
I've always kept my eye on the solo queue ladder. I look for the new talent.
Hashtag I'mOPL. Get in touch with us because we have a tweet that's just come through, which we're going to bring up on the desk. My friend plays. Oh, this is after we asked for off-meta picks that people are doing. My friend plays AP Blitzcrank with Riles and Ginsus or Gwinsus. Plays top in ranked, and when gets the first kill, he usually carries super hard. It's in Silver 4. That's Adam Tardos.
I would hate that if you were on my
My
team.
friend. Just say you play it, dude. I'm not going to make fun of you for playing that. That's all right.
Why is it?
How does that even work? How does Rylai's and Gwinsu synergize? They are like polar opposites when it comes to...
Attack real fast, slow them down a lot, I guess.
So
does your E count as a... Does that slow with Rylai's? I mean, it's a knock-up, so you're already knocking like... You know what? Yeah, so you do get first blood, and he snowballs. So I mean, that's reassuring for me. But
that's a no for me. Sorry,
no? That's a no from you.
Wow. All right, brutal. Tweet at us hashtag I'mOPL, or in Twitch chat. Let us know your off-meta picks or things you're playing out of position. And also, let us know why you're doing that so we can answer your questions here on the desk. But I think it is time for us to get into our second match of this set. So let's take a look at some highlights from game number 1.
Low is going to fall down. That is first blood picked up by Lost. All of a sudden, already getting a kill in his first game. Carbon's going to stick around. This is going to be a repeat dive. He picks up aggro, and it will be T-Gun falling as well. Lost is in absolute struggle street. He's been engaged on. He will die at a T-Gun, and all of a sudden, they're chasing after Cupcake. Low will jump on his head, but Corki is now here. T-Gun with a double kill. A big shockwave absolutely whiffs there out of shock. That will be the jungler falling down for TM Gaming, and they're not done. Bear Trap on a rope comes out. That's going to nail Shock, pull him back, and Cupcake flies into the backline. A double kill picked up for Lost. Now Cupcake is in trouble. And Claire might just actually fall down. Dodgefield is absolutely massive. Where are you going, Lo? You need to be hitting the front line of the team. Prince goes in, misses the attack, flash taunt, and all of a sudden Lost is absolutely by himself. Lo can clean up this fight here. He's going to get another reset, and he will be able to hop onto Lost's head. That is a triple kill. Re-engage is available for Legacy, but they don't want this fight. Kratos flies in. He's got the dodge field down. Where is the Orianna Shockwave? There it is. Only hits one, and I don't even think it got him because Tally was dismounted, and now Cupcake is in the back line. That's a double kill picked up for Lost, and Carbon is still charging forward. And this should be game. It looks like Legacy will be able to pick up the base turrets, and it was not pretty. It wasn't all that well executed, but Legacy finally put it together. It's going to be a 32-minute victory.